So today I am introducing Daniel Tinico Hernandez. He was a graduate of Maryville College in 2021, graduated with a BA in biochemistry. After graduating from Maryville, he went on to take 2 gap years, and during this time, he gained valuable experience at UT Medical Center doing various internships, I believe 2 or 3. One of those opportunities was a nurse tech in the oncology department, and he was also a medical assistant at the Orthopedic Institute. Additionally, during those gap years, he volunteered and served as a translator at East Knox Free Medical Clinic. After those 2 years, after those 2 years, he went on to receive a full ride scholarship at the University of Wisconsin School of Medicine and Public Health, where he is now acting as a member of 2 mentorship programs, one of which is called BEAM, Building Equitable Access to Mentorship, and Enrich, Enhancing Representation to Improve Our Community's Health. All of these different things that he's done, as well as what he's doing now, are going to allow him to find mentors who have supported him throughout his journey, and now he's kind of passing that torch and doing what he can to help others as well. Some of the things he plans to do in the future are participate in his school's Shapiro Summer Research Program. And now I'll turn it over to Daniel so he can tell us all about his journey to medical school.
Hey guys, I'm just gonna share my screen real quick. So I just have a presentation to go with it, so it just won't be me just talking and being static. So there we go. So like Brett said, I'm Daniel. I graduated in 2021, and now I'm pursuing a MD at the University of Wisconsin School of Medicine and Public Health, and I hope to graduate in 2027. So a little background about me. So I was born in Mexico, but I immigrated to the States when I was like 2 or 3. So I lived most of my life in the States, mostly in Tennessee and Orange City, so about like 30 minutes away from Maryville. And it was interesting that I was always interested in science, but particularly medicine, because I grew up watching some of these medical shows, as maybe you guys would know, Scrubs and House. And then I continued that interest in medicine, but just doing a lot of like searching. Like in my high school was pretty good because they had like different STEM programs for engineering, mathematics, um, and healthcare. So I did it my high school's healthcare specific STEM program where I graduated doing like different classes like anatomy, clinical service. So that's what really helped me spark more of my interest in medicine by doing those classes in high school. And then, so during high school, of course, like you guys, you were deciding what college to enter. So it was the time when I was interviewing, because I'm a first generation college graduate. So, like for me, because I was like second in my class, so I had a great GPA and great extracurriculars. So what I thought was like I have to go to like a prestigious college to become a good doctor. So I applied to and was interviewing a lot of schools. I was interviewing Vandy, Duke, Columbia, and my preference was Princeton. But ironically, why I chose to go to Maryville was during my Princeton interview. Uh, my Princeton interview, he was a great guy. He told me like based on my interview, like he'll try to like fight for me for like in two acceptance, but also because he also mentioned it doesn't really matter where you go for undergrad as long as you actually enjoy your undergrad and you gain a lot of experiences, a lot of networking. And he said, like, if you find a school, like Princeton may be your school or maybe a local school. So that on top of Dr. Coulter, so you guys may know her. She's the chair of the behavioral sciences, I think now. She was visiting my high school for a semester doing a program, and I happened to be in the program. So she was also like kind of selling us on Maryville College, and on its class size, like you guys know, maybe you like watch the class, it's like 30 people, and even with like a even like with Vanderbilt or Princeton, the class sizes would be like 200, maybe 300, and that's something that I didn't like, but I would have to kind of bear through. But then learning about class sizes, professors, the ability to do a senior thesis at Maryville College, that's what's really sold me to kind of not do like to like kind of rescind some of my applications to those more prestigious schools and choose Maryville because it was more intimate compared to the other schools where I would have been just a number even by those by that time. And I specifically chose biochemistry just because I thought it'd be the best all-around education for me going to research and medicine. And so far, it's proved to be the case that I made the best choice going forward. Then I have to acknowledge a couple of people from the college. Dr. Gibson, she was an amazing senior thesis advisor and also my biochemistry professor. And then I have an exam this Friday, which is very biochemistry heavy. And having that background in those classes really has helped me compared to some of my other peers who didn't really have to take biochemistry based on some prerequisites for medical school. Dr. Turner for being my faculty advisor, and Mr. Bowman for being academic support because they helped me for tutoring and also helped in tutoring and biology and also in the writing center. And Dr. Crane for his classes, especially for physiology, because this next exam is a lot of histology and developmental biology, which in medicine, you're not gonna get away from that. And also Dr. Brigatti, because she was my pre-med advisor. Her classes, genetics, microbiology, immunology, those are probably the most direct influence in that you'll see in medicine because, well, everyone gets sick with bacteria, with viruses. Immunology and genetics are a core component of medicine. Then also I have to mention some of the extracurricular activities that I'm doing. So just some background on what I was doing during undergrad. So my senior thesis was based on a research project I did at the University of Michigan, and it was based on a kinase inhibitor for cancer cells. So that got me interested more into oncology on top of neurology, where I was already interested. Then I did some other stuff with the Pastrana clinic where I interned. I learned from Dr. Hernandez, who's the head of the clinic, and Dr. LaForce, who's also a practicing physician there, about the testing and evaluation of Alzheimer's and cognitive impairment, as well as a internship at the Genesis Neuroscience Clinic, which is similar to the Pastrana clinic, and also spent some time at the Children's Hospital, just basically being a child life specialist, which is basically entails me playing with kids, giving them toys, giving them movies, just anything to get their minds off why they're there, especially for like siblings who aren't sure why their older sibling or their younger sibling is in the hospital. So that's a little background of like up until spring 2020. My idea was what I wanted to do was like for medical school, you have to apply the year prior to matriculate into the next fall. So I was going to apply in the summer of 2020 and matriculate in 2021. But then during that time, that was during COVID. So everything kind of went up in ends because I couldn't get a lot of shadowing clinical experience or continue my research because I was initially going to continue it into the next summer, but I couldn't do that because they restricted travel, they restricted people who weren't already working. So I had to change. So I had to change my plans. And then some background of the medical school application. So you have to take your MCAT. It's basically the kind of big boy version of the ACT, SCT, where you study all the different subjects. You have to get letters from your professors, from physicians, make your personal statement, write about your activities, and pre-write your secondaries if you can. Also do some testing for basically see if you're not a psychopath, and then just practice your interview skills. You interview, then you wait. And I think I have to mention is that like the MCAT is very hard. Like for you guys, like the ACT, the SAT was probably the hardest test you had up to the point. And I'm not gonna lie that say like it's easy now, but if you make enough time to like probably study and have a schedule, you'll do okay. Then you also have the opportunity to retake it. But it is something you have to commit time to, just like any other test. And like Brett mentioned, I really like I didn't want to have a gap year, and I originally planned for one, but then I saw just for my own standards that I didn't have enough clinical experience, shadowing experience, all these different experiences to make myself that much more competitive for the schools I was going to apply to, and because I wanted to have a good chance of getting into the schools and also getting a scholarship, that's why I took two instead of one. And this is just a picture of me and my twin brother. This on the left is my twin brother Renee, and that's me on the right. I put this picture in because my mom didn't know that she was having twins until right up until she had us. And then before I get into like what I did during my journey to get into medicine, just some general advice that I'm gonna kind of sprinkle in here. Like you have to explore opportunities or make them yourself. You have to network, find a mentor that knows like how they got there and they help you. Use your resources, be it professors, be it friends, family, prepare and plan. But also a lot of stuff you have to do for as a pre-med or you're going to a PhD program. You just basically have to fake until you make it. You just have to have a lot of confidence, and then that's gonna carry you a long way because I did a lot of stuff where I didn't know what I was doing. I was taught along the way. And then I just came out fine because I was open to learning and the people around me saw that. So for my journey for medicine, it couldn't have been done without two great mentors. So on the left is Dr. Goldman. He was a former head of vascular surgery. He actually started the department and he helped revitalize the general surgery department some decades ago. And he's had a host of different mentees, residents, current physicians, pre-meds over the years. So he was undoubtedly my biggest mentor during the time. He got me a lot of shadowing opportunities, research opportunities. He even got me a part-time job at his son's legal company when I was trying to relax for a bit. And then on the right is Dr. Perky. She's the clerkship director of internal medicine, which means that she basically teaches the internal medicine residents while they're training to be full-fledged doctors. As well, she's the director of the East Knox Free Medical Clinic that I helped out, and she was fantastic. She was available for me to ask questions about whatever. She was always open for me to learn about this thing or put me to like shadow this cardiologist to learn about the surgery or learn about so and so. So these two are amazing physicians that I learned from, and I couldn't have gone throughout my journey without having these two amazing mentors. And then for medicine, like I mentioned, you don't have to do shouting, but shouting is helpful to make you like parse out what you're interested in and what you're not. I just happened because I took two gap years. I was able to shadow a litany of different specialties. I have some of my more favorite specialties here. I shadowed Dr. Mancini. He's the head of general surgery, so I shadowed a lot of hernial surgeries, and that was pretty gnarly to watch. And then I shadowed Dr. Hirsch, he's a kind of he's tested that he's a rhythmic doctor. Basically, he's a cardiologist that works with people who have arrhythmias. And then on the picture here, I have it's just how you can see that this is a pacemaker and how small and how wireless it become. And then on the bottom right is me during an eye surgery. I had to have a bilateral eye surgery for eye condition. And this is just me saying that, like, even if these opportunities were made from me, like contacting the doctors, or also my mentor contacting them because he trained them or he's good friends with them. I also shadowed the chief of ophthalmology, and like how I shadowed a lot of these chiefs was through my main mentor Goldman, but also how I shadowed Dr. Harris was when I went to my ophthalmology meeting for my condition. I asked my ophthalmologist, "Is there any opportunity to shadow an ophthalmologist?" And she said yes. And it happened that the person I shadowed was the head of ophthalmology, and ironically, Dr. Harris is the father who is my ophthalmologist's father, and he's also the father of a doctor I worked with in the orthopedic clinic. So it just shows you how small everything is, and you make connections, then you're able to have a lot of opportunities that otherwise you wouldn't have. And then, like Brett said, I was during those 2 years, I was getting a lot of experience just because, like for me, I probably had enough experience to apply in the first year, but I wanted to have more just to make myself more competitive for schools, especially because I was basically applying to the top 30 schools and up. So I was a nurse tech for some time at UT's Medical Center, and then I was a research assistant at Vanderbilt, where I did some predominant Alzheimer's research, just seeing the disparity in Alzheimer's for non for Black individuals compared to non-Hispanic white individuals. And this opportunity, this wasn't posted on their website. I actually reached out to the PI saying, "Hey, I just graduated. I'm interested in Alzheimer's based on my background working with Alzheimer's patients and similar to cancer cell research did." And because I'm so proactive and so interested, she was able to actually make the position for myself, and it just shows you that otherwise, if you don't go out and look for opportunities or you make your own opportunities, they really don't have a chance of doing something that's awesome as doing research at Vandy. And then, so I have a small little video. It's not real blood, but it is a little bit visceral because it kind of shows you what a trauma simulation is. I also spent about a year and a half at the simulation lab at the University of Tennessee's Medical Center, where we did a litany of simulations with trauma surgeons, general surgeons, transplant surgeons, the flight medics. So I'm going to play this video.
watching for then that's the esophagus. So this is the esophagus. This is the esophagus.
Oop, my bad.
This is the aorta
My bad.
and the trach branches. Very cool.
So I just show this video just to show you like why I got into medicine, like all this visceral stuff. Like some people may not like working blood. Even people in medicine who don't work in blood may go into radiology, may go into pathology, may go become dermatologists. But stuff like this, getting more experience, getting more hands-on experience, even if it's just in a simulating center, got me more interested in medicine and got me committed to doing medicine. And move on to the next slide. Okay, there we go. So then again, I didn't think I had enough experience. I probably did have enough experience, just but for me, I'm a little neurotic, so I did more and stuff. So I did diabetic foot ulcer based research with my mentor, Dr. Goldman, and then I was also medical assistant at the university's orthopedic clinic. And like I said, I was a translator volunteer at the East Knox Free Medical Clinic. And then, so like I said, I applied to basically the top 30 schools and up, just because I'm an international student. So those are the only schools I can apply to. So that's why I was a little more neurotic in getting all these experiences and getting all these different people to kind of vouch for me, because getting into medical school is hard. By having yourself only limited to the top 30 schools and up is even harder. But I was lucky enough that any school I got into would have been amazing, and I happened just to get accepted to the University of Wisconsin School of Medicine. So I picked it because obviously it's a top medical school, and as a budding physician, I wanted to have a lot of mentorship opportunities, and it has that in them spades. Their forward curriculum is amazing. It's pass fail, so we just have to basically hit 50% on each exam, and then we're not regraded in that you have to pass that. Otherwise, you're not ranked to other individuals like some other med schools are, which causes a toxic environment in a lot of med schools. And because the University of Wisconsin school is so big and has a lot of funding, they have a lot of different things they can do for research, pathway distinctions, and especially for diversity. Ironically, it being a state school, about one third of the students are from underrepresented identities and minorities in medicine. So that's why I picked it, because they have a good track record and actually commitment to diversity. And there's a lot of different school organizations, and of course, I'm not gonna be crazy and turn down a full tuition scholarship. So that's why I picked the University of Wisconsin. And like I said, the university gave me a lot of mentorships off the bat. Like they would just give us to us, some of them I had to search out. Like Dr. Deering, Dr. Ryan, and Dr. Hain, they were just given to me for preceptor for learning clinical skills, for learning about and patient cases. For just Dr. Ryan is she's like a non-grading mentor. I can just go to her about any concerns about like my health, any problems I have with maybe a professor or whatever. She's just there to listen and provide any advice she has without being judgmental, because there is a power dynamic difference as a pre-med, as a medical student compared to as a resident and as a attending, that you kind of don't want to ruffle any feathers, because they do have an influence on your career. But having these mentors gives you that confidence, because they're there to help you whenever you can. And one reason, like a big reason why I chose the university again. So I messaged Dr. Dempsey. He's the chair of neurosurgery, and like a lot of me, like neurosurgery is very hard and very cutthroat to get into. But I messaged him, and he got back to me. It was during the summer before I actually got into the school proper, and I asked him if there's any opportunities to learn about neurosurgery as someone who's interested in neurosurgery. And he off the bat said, "Of course, we'll make a time after you get settled, and then we'll go from there." And he's been a great resource, and he's making time for me, even though he's busy doing all this stuff, being the chief. And then Dr. Tarula and Dr. Beamsley, those are just two people who applied to for a program for extra mentoring. Dr. Tarula specifically for Beam, which is building access to mentorship. It's for underrepresented minorities where they pair you up with someone who's similar background, racially, ethnic to you. And Dr. Rula, he's also Mexican, had a similar track to medicine. And Dr. Beamsley, he's more primary care. I'm not too interested in primary care, but he was under mentor that I could have had just to get more advice throughout my years. So that's why I picked him. And then Dr. Lake, he's another neurosurgeon that I like to shadow and talk to about. So I'm not gonna get too much in the weeds about the university's curriculum, but it's basically compared to the normal normal medical school curriculum, where it's 2 years of lecture and 2 years of clinicals. Ours is a little more expedited. It's a year and a half of lecture, so we have the same amount of information, but in a faster and more intense way because we're condensing it into 1.5 years. So it's a little, so it is a long because, for example, my exam is based on 5 weeks. It's going to be over 60 slides. Each slide has a range of like 30 to 50 slides per presentation. And that is a lot of volume to go through. But because we are pass fail, it's a lot of stress that's being taken off our shoulders, knowing that we can just have to get 50%, and then we'll study proper for the step exams. So what I'm doing now, like Brett mentioned, I'm part of a lot of groups. I'm part of the neurosurgery interest group, the Latino Medical Student interest group, the American Medical Association group, which is basically for expounding and promoting policy changes. And also, I'm helping on a free clinic out. I was a small group facilitator for admission, so I kind of evaluated applicants to see if they're up for this medical school based on the responses, based on their camaraderie. I'm a student ambassador. I'm planning to do a research project that's basically a blood test for glioblastomas or brain cancers. And that's because the school has a lot of funding to basically pay us $4,000 or $5,000 for 10 weeks, 8 weeks of work. And we get a presentation out of that for residencies. I'm also a member of the following groups like surgery, vascular surgery, oncology, neurology. And I'm also, because I'm interested in research, but I didn't want to do the PhD MD track, I'm doing my school's pathway distinction in research, which basically is a more meaningful minor that actually tells residency applications that this person was really interested in research or public health or medical education or so forth. Then I'm also just trying to survive because medical school is rough. How this is described during orientation is drinking from the fire hose because a lot of stuff comes at you with a lot of information, a lot of different things, a lot of different responsibilities, and that is true. So I just have some of these like kind of dumb things because in the beginning everyone was hyped to be in medical school, but then like during the first 2-3 months, once we got into the deep science of medicine, like we got into like pulmonology, cardiology, and renal last semester. It was a lot of information. A lot of people were getting burned out. Yeah, it is true that medicine, like you're basically just stuck in studying and doing all this stuff just to make yourself a better applicant for residencies. If you guys have any questions, feel free to reach out to me at my medical school email or my Maryville College email. You just be sure to just look up down Tinoco and it should be there. Then I'm just gonna end just to have it time for any questions from you guys. So this person is someone who has gone through me, who's like during the tough times, talking to her, just seeing her face, gone through a lot of stuff. She's my niece. She was born in September. So just seeing her face, seeing how she's grown when I'm not there, because I only saw her proper when I was during my winter break. I saw her for 2 weeks, so it was nice time to just lay down, relax, talk with family, especially see my first niece. Yeah, so like making time for the little stuff like exercise, cooking, whatever. It's something that you have to like you get to balance because medical school demands a lot of you, but you can't let it be all demanding because then you'll just burn out even before you become a resident, even before you become a attending. Because some attendings burn out very easily. You have to make sure that you have good coping mechanisms before then. Yeah, so guys, so that was my presentation. So we have I left it, so we have quite a bit of time. You guys have any questions, any comments? I see a question. So what has been the best thing you found to help you during balance such a huge workload? So like what I do for balance is I basically I'm trying to go back to exercising since we have a big facility for exercising that has like indoor exercise swimming pool. So making time for that, cooking, watching TV, just hang out with friends. For example, my exam is this Friday, and then on Sunday I'm gonna hang out with some friends just to watch Super Bowl, watch the game, relax. So just making time out of the day. Just like I have some time carved out for studying. Obviously, like I have like 4 or 5 hours a day carved out for studying. But then I intersperse like 10, 15 minutes during those times to study, to relax, to take some time, take a breather, walk outside, watch something on YouTube. Just make sure that I'm not burning myself out because if I burn myself out, then I'm not going to have any energy to continue to study and just do poorly.
think a big thing you hit on there is the the although you're talking about balance, it's still obviously an imbalance of time studying, and the actual activities you're doing are a majority of what you're actually doing, but you're filling it also with extracurricular opportunities related to your work, finding ways to fit it all in. And obviously, while it's not perfectly balanced, I think I really like that you mentioned, making time, but also carving out how much time you actually need for the other stuff. Along with that, how do you start to choose between all these opportunities? You mentioned some of the things that you want to do and hope to do. How do you start to pick as more and more things come your way?
Yeah, but by no means do you guys have to follow like a similar path to like medicine or to like a PhD program. I am just very neurotic in that I thought like if my time isn't filled up, like the day, my week isn't filled up by some sort of activity, some sort of program, if I'm not doing anything, then I feel like that's wasting time. And like I have a lot of friends who are part of different organizations or part of the same organization, and they don't hold any board membership. They're just passing members. But all those stuff I mentioned that I did as a pre-med and now as a medical student, I do them because it's something I enjoy and it's something that I know that I can partition time because I'm a leader in 3 groups, and I only chose to do 3 groups compared to like doing 4 or 5 because I knew that that's a good amount of leadership that I can handle within a given month. So I can make sure I'm studying properly, make sure that I'm doing anything outside of it that's fun. But other people are doing less because they don't want to do all this stuff or because they don't need to because they're going to a less competitive for SSC like internal medicine, pediatrics, OBI. Yeah, but definitely like just do what you think you can do. And then if you see yourself like being overstressed or overcome with a lot of different emotions, just like always know that you can always go back, see yourself into a better position, and then just start from the baseline and just reintroduce stuff to see how much you can take on. And then what are the best resources for studying in medical school? So there's kind of 2 main ways to study at my medical school. Like you can like because we do the exams are written in house, so all the slides that we read through, all the cases that we go through in class. Basically, if you read through the slides, you do all the work, then you're basically set for those for the in-house exams. But a lot of people do use stuff like Anki, Words and Beyond. What's the other thing? And other stuff that people use will be like kind of Jack West and stuff. So a lot of people use third-party resources. A lot of it's free. A lot of it can cost a range from like $100 to like $700 for 4 years. I myself am just a person who just studies the slides over and over and teaches the slides to people because that's how I think it's better for me to study compared to like using third-party stuff that isn't directly tied into our curriculum because it does cover the same stuff, but it may have unnecessary information that we don't need to learn for the exam. And I have a question, like how many of you guys are planning or want to consider a path in medicine, be it PA, MD, DO? Are any of you guys interested in medicine, or have I kind of scared you to go out of medicine? Oh,
There's definitely a few in here, quite a few.
Yeah, they raised their hands quickly. Hi, Daniel.
hi.
It's great to see you. Great
Oh,
job
great to
on
see
the
you.
presentation. Yeah. Can you talk about how the classes are structured in medical school? Is it really different than the way we did classes here, or?
Yeah, so like like it's actually kind of similar to how they're structured in like in Maryville College. Let me see if I can pull up my current I can pull up my current class schedule for this week, and that we have dedicated time for studying, and we have dedicated time for classes. So
Mhm.
here we go. So
And if it's possible, if I can pick it off Dr. Gibson's question, I don't want to put you on the hot seat, but how well did Maryville College prepare you for applying to medical school and for your schedule?
and that person is my twin brother Renee.
Also good to see you, Renee.
Good to see you too, Dr. Gibson.
So like, let me go through so this was last week. So on Monday, we have PACE class, which is patient oriented cases. We basically go through like a vignette of a patient that's sick through ulcerative colitis or whatever. Then we research it for Thursday. But then Tuesdays to Wednesdays is dedicated time. We have 3 to 4 lectures during that time. So the case-based lectures are mandatory, and the lectures themselves, where we learn about different conditions, they're optional because they're recorded. But I'm a person who goes to the actual lectures because I learn better by being in class.
Mhm,
So because it's graduate school,
mhm.
they are going to take attendance for the case-based lectures because that's where you're actively participating with other portions of your peers. But for the lectures, it's on you to actually learn it, and also the professors are also there to help you whenever it's possible. But no one's going to make you sit down and study. You have to make sure that you're studying for yourselves. So you can see that I have all this time, basically afternoon, to study, and then on Fridays is usually the time where I have lab for anatomy. Like I had a dissection of the large intestine, small intestine, the upper sections of the head. So it's a little bit gory for someone who's not interested in medicine. So it is a lot, especially on Fridays where they pack it on, where I'm basically in school from 8 to 5. But I have all this different time dedicated for studying, and that was specific for the curriculum. And that they double down a lot on the morning classes. So then the afternoon we have time to study, and because a lot of stuff happens in the afternoon, be it clinical skills, be it club activities. So they're really good about structuring that way. And it's similar to Maryville College in that, like, there's a good structure, but no one's going to make you do what you don't want to do. Because I mean, the school is investing a lot of time, so there are like hoping that you're trying your best. But at the end of the day, if you're not doing what you're supposed to do, then it's on you. And then, so what activity research do you think helps you most during your undergrad? So, it's funny because my senior thesis, it's actually a reason why I got why I got the research position I'm going to get in summer. Because even though it's undergrad, I'm still using that throughout my time. I used that to get the position for the Vanderbilt research program, for the diabetic foot ulcer program, and just showing that I had a background in doing some sort of research, that I had the capability of doing analysis, writing a paper, knowing how research is read. That opened a lot of doors because when I went to Vanderbilt, I had no idea how to do proteomic Alzheimer's research, but they taught me on the spot because they knew I had I had the gumption to learn it, because I had the gumption to learn cell biology and cancer research based on another thing. So like you can do any research, that's gonna be the best thing. It doesn't necessarily have to be published. I didn't have any published publications. The diabetic foot ulcer research thing, I helped get a lot of the information, a lot of the data, but my name and my Renee's name wasn't on the publication. We didn't do it for publication. We did it more for experience. We point to our resume saying, "Hey, I have experience doing clinical research and benchtop research." And what do I wish would have done differently? So like I said, I'm a little neurotic. I may have wished to have studied a little more. Like for the MCAT, I did bare minimum studying and got a good MCAT score. Had like had I like had I been more scheduled, been more prone to doing stuff in a timely fashion, I probably would have been in a better position instead of waiting to apply and doing that stuff.
Then they probably don't think of this, but what is the correlation to, like, would you say that a low GPA is okay if you have high MCAT, but if you have a high GPA but low MCAT, that shows a deficiency?
Yeah, like for like what Renee's getting at is that you don't have to be the perfect student to get into medical school. Like I wasn't. Like my GPA was like middle to high. It wasn't like perfect, like 4.0 or 3.9, 3.8. But as long as you get the bare minimum and you get like good MCAT, maybe 5.5 to like 5.10, then you show yourself to be like dedicated to medicine, and your activities, your letters show that this person was really good in their class. Dr. Gibson, she vouched for me in a letter. Um, my physician mentors, they vouched for me in a clinical letter that he's going to be a good doctor. And Dr. Gibson's like, oh, he was good in his classes and research. So not everything is metric based, because when I was interviewing some of these students for medical school applications, I could see their GPA and their MCAT near the end. Some of them had like amazing GPAs, like one had like a 320 and a 4.0 GPA, and they're probably gonna get accepted. But another person also had like a 3.5 and like a 503 GPA, and they're likely as, if not, to also get accepted because they got to the point where they got interviewed. The school was interested enough to give them an interview. So as long as you go through those hurdles and then show yourself to be a good applicant, then a lot of doors can be opened. Because like I said, I didn't have the best GPA or MCAT, but I was the person who got the only like full tuition scholarship based on my background and commitment to public health, to research, to doing stuff for underrepresented minorities, compared to other students who had amazing GPAs, had amazing MCATs, maybe didn't have a lot of research or a lot of clinical experience. That's how they got in. But I got in by having like a good bit of a good metric and a lot of experience.
Thank you, Daniel. And while your experience is specific to medical school, you could translate this to whatever professional school you're hoping to go to, whether that's veterinarian, ophthalmology, like or optometry, whatever you're looking at, like these same metrics are the things that they're looking for, the research, the letters of recommendation, all of that. So you can't discount anything you've said based on, I'm not going to medical school, or even if it's graduate school, the same would still apply.
Yeah, definitely. And do you guys have any more questions about like how life is in medical school? Like how any advice for undergrad, anything? Like I have free time. I'm done with classes. I'm just gonna be spending the rest of the day studying. So just shoot me with any questions you have, be it about medical school, PA school, graduate school, veterinary school.
I have a question about your gap years. You did a lot, and like I mentioned a little, and I know from in emails that I saw where you did just a whole host of different things. How did you give up, or what did you give up during those 2 years to make sure that you got to where you wanted to be down the road?
So I did give up quite a bit of, I guess, a little bit of sleep, because like for one of them, I was doing the night shift for 12 hours. And then like I was always a little stressed with like making sure I was doing one thing, but then I had to do the next, like another position the next day. But I wouldn't say I gave up too much, maybe like some free time spending with family, spending with friends. But everything I didn't do just because I thought it looked good on vacation. Like that was partially why I did it. But the main reason I did it was because it's something I want to do. Like working with cancer patients, having done cancer research, I wanted to see how it was working with cancer patients in clinical field. But working with Alzheimer's patients, I want to see the back end of doing research, and then just having a litany of different experiences to see, hey, I'm interested in medicine, but am I interested in oncology, OB-GYN, radiology, all this stuff? I did that just to see what am I interested in. Is something that I can see myself doing, and it's gonna give me the skill set to be better prepared for medical school. Like for example, like the sim lab, all those different things were basically like helping out the all the different professions. I got like having the background in doing those Da Vinci stuff, ultrasound. It's really helpful because now that I've a leg up compared to my peers who didn't have that experience, but I did it because it was something that's interesting to me.
And if I can ask you a question, since if you're currently like sifting through medical school applications, is it easy to point out people that are kind of faking their extracurricular activities that they just did to put on paper? Like, can you see people that actually did for the passion versus like just the checkbox list?
Yeah, 'cause I'm not sure how it goes for other graduate school applications, but like for medical school applications, you have to like write a small little essay based on each activity that you're writing about. And if you're not able to write about why this opportunity was like impactful for you or how you made an impact, then people who read your applications are going to see that this person just did this thing because they thought they had to. This person did a research project that wasn't any meaningful. They didn't get any posters, any publications, just because they think that they need to have research for medical school or for graduate school. So like whenever you're doing something, always commit to it, even if it's something that you don't like, and you can move on. Like for example, I had a position where I was working at Cherokee for like a week, but I didn't like it at all because it was not really what I thought it was going to be. So I actually left that position after a week because I knew it wasn't gonna be anything that's gonna help me going forward or something that I can give all, my all. So if you see yourself like not enjoying it or not having an impact or not impacting you, then reconsider what you're doing because it may not be fruitful.
What
And
other
then,
questions do you have?
I'm sorry. And how would you advise people when they're going to upper like level graduate school? Would you greatly advise them to keep in touch with Dr. Gibson, like to their professors, since the benefit of Maryville College is that it's so small compared to like to UT, where our friends struggle to even either for even their professor to even remember their name. That's a great asset that they really need to go into the office and, hey, Dr. Gibson, not just say, hey, can you write me letters like, oh, how you doing, Dr. Gibson, just so that she can see your face and that you're interested in your daily activities, so she gets to know you and write a proper letter for any other upper graduate school you want to.
Yeah, that's definitely true. Like, Dr. Gibson can probably talk to it more. Like how many times I annoyed her about questions for biochemistry, or how many times I asked her for letters of recommendation for medical school or for this position or that position. I kept in touch with a lot of different professors because I knew that they would give me a lot of great advice. Like not to like dilute them, but like your professors are a resource that you can use and you should use. Because I helped my younger cousin, he was applying to down school, he got into down school now, but because he went to UT, it was hard for him to make a connection with his professors because in a school of like how many thousand and during Zoom, it's very hard for a professor to remember one name out of 300 faces. But for Dr. Gibson's classes, Dr. Crane's classes, Dr. Regardless classes, you guys are one, like 1 to 20, 130. She's able to make a connection. She's able to learn about you. You can give her your CV. She can write about you. So you have more intimate connection to her than you would have at a larger school. And then I see a question in the chat. Diving in curveballs in your interview. So I wouldn't say I had any curveballs. Like, my interview was a little more relaxed compared to other interviews. It was more like learning about like why I applied to the school. So I give them like why based on like my research, like the mentorship, the ability to research, the programs, the curriculum, and then like some questions like just learning about me, like what do you have to do for fun and what are you currently doing, just to like learn how I am outside of class because they are making because any medical school can train you to be a good doctor, but medical schools can train you to be a good person. So they're gauging me to see if I'm a good person overall, like good disposition, friendly, collaborative. Because otherwise, they can kind of, if you don't know about cardiology, they can instill that into you. But if you're a bad person who's like always on edge, who's like very hyper focused on getting the result, doesn't care about working with others, that's not going to do anything good for you in medicine because medicine is a collaborative effort. So like making sure that you come off as being like informative but also friendly and collaborative is something that you have to do in any application, any interview you have.
How do you think having your MA affected you getting into med school?
For some medical assistants. So
Yeah.
so I specifically picked I specifically worked at the University as medical center and at the orthopedic clinic because I didn't want to do the certificate for MA because it's kind of a hassle. The medical center and the orthopedic clinic, they train you on the job and you get basically certified for them to work through them. So that's one route where I just circumnavigated around that because I didn't want to do the hassle of studying for however months it is and take the exam. Is it better to have hands-on training for me and in the center and the orthopedic clinic? They gave me that. Yeah, but like any clinical experience you have is a valuable clinical experience.
I will just add in to sort of echo off what Daniel and Renee were saying about the great advantage that you guys have here of being able to interact with your professors. And we like that. We are glad to get to know you, want to get to know you. It helps us to be able to write better rec letters. A friend of my son's who is studying at UT recently asked me for a letter of recommendation because that friend didn't know any professors well enough as a junior. And not but because of anything they were doing, but just because of the way it's set up. I went to the University of Tennessee also, and it's huge, and only by sheer luck of circumstances did I fall into a situation where I actually ended up having good enough relationships with professors that I could have gotten those recommendation letters. But that is really something that you have as an advantage here. And so really take advantage of it. Get to know your professors. We like to see you. We like to see you walk into our offices. We may not always have time to stop what we're doing to help you, but we do want to connect, and we want to get to know you so that we can write you the best letters possible. So.
Then also to pick off back on Dr. Gibson, always look for a chance to network, since through just your chance when Dan was working as nurse tech, he made a connection with a nurse. It turns out to be that she was the wife of the former vascular surgeon, and she was like, "Hey, do you want to show my husband?" And then by happenstance, both of us have a letter recommendation, Ray, from a vascular surgeon. Then through him, we showed different doctors, and through those doctors, we went to other doctors. It's just that never be afraid to network, because if you don't network, you never have the opportunities to expand or broaden your horizons, and then that would just come back to bite you in the rear, sense you always need to learn something rather than going to the wilderness just with nothing to help you guide your way.
Yeah, like how Ray mentioned, just by sheer happenstance, I talked to a nurse. She was the wife of the former head of vascular surgery. He liked me based on my interview. He took me under his wing. He took Renee under his wing. He gave us a lot of different opportunities for shadowing, research, clinical stuff. And that was just by sheer happenstance, but it's because I was open to different opportunities. And like I said, I messaged the current chief of neurosurgery here, and there's people who are interested in neurosurgery, but I was the first. I'm the only one that actually actively reached out to him as a upcoming first year, saying, "Hey, I'm interested in neurosurgery. Can you take me on your wing?" And he's like, "Oh, absolutely. I'm also interested in teaching residents and pre-meds and medical students, because that's why I became the chief, to not because it's a fancy title, but because I love to teach. I love to learn from the students as much as they learn from me." Come on, guys. You guys have to have some questions. Any questions?
Would you tell them or describe the difference between MT or DO? Would you tell them that there's no real difference, or there's just, is it okay to also apply to DO, even though most people think that MD is the more prestigious route?
So for people who are interested in, it's kind of similar to BA and BS, but DO is Doctor of Osteopathic Medicine. They do a little more teaching and manipulative medicine for bones, how it can help you alleviate some pressure, some strain, some illness. MDs have been here longer, have more prestige, have more funding, have more resources. So I have a bias towards MD just because it has a better track record and, like I said, better funding overall. But at the end of the day, you're a doctor. It may be a little harder to get into a more competitive residency if you want to go to plastics, or you want to go to ortho, you want to go to ophthalmology. It's a little harder because you don't have those resources at a large school. Because, for example, I have a friend who's at LMU, and like I said, I can just basically throw a stethoscope to down the hallway in the hospital, and I can hit. If I throw a stethoscope down the hospital, I can hit a famous doctor, a famous researcher, because we have a lot of money, we have a lot of resources. But LMU doesn't have the same resources or money, but they do still have opportunities to research and work with amazing doctors. But you will have to work a little harder to get into something more competitive if you want to do something like plastics.
As far as taking exams after undergraduate, I know you had time with your gap years. Did you strictly set aside time to study and then like take them at a predetermined point, or would you suggest taking them early and then kind of reassessing? Like, what was your thoughts on that, and like how did you approach the MCAT from, you know, a financial and like score perspective?
Yeah, so I wouldn't recommend to do what I did because like it's bad to say, but like I have a general knowledge about a lot of stuff. So I'm studying and learning comes easy to me more than other people, I guess. So like I read through the books. I did can't remember what it's called, where you basically have practice questions, and it was over 6 months. And over the 6 months, I read through the books like all of them, but I didn't actually try as much as during the exams. I did score like around five, like I averaged around 517 during my exams. I got lower in my actual exam because I wasn't as committed to studying. But if you're really good at dedicating time for a schedule that you'll study psychology this day, you'll study sociology the next day, you'll take a practice exam after 2 months, and you do one after every 2 weeks, then you'll be fine. Because the MCAT, you do have to know your stuff, otherwise you really won't be able to get a good score. But a lot of it is, are you a good test taker? Because for my exams, they're all multiple choice because step one, step two, and the boards are all gonna be multiple choice. But if you don't know how to parse through what's the best option or how to measure time and breathe through stuff adequately, then you're not going to do well on any exam.
Then also to mention, when he said how you prepared for the MCAT, just also for them when they're doing application, there's also not an option, if you can like there's an opportunity called for a fee assistance that will subsidize your MCAT and also around 20 schools, I believe. So
Yeah.
if you can greatly take advantage of that, then you will save thousands and thousands of dollars.
Yeah, like I applied to like 40 schools. It cost me around $200 compared to it would have been like $2,000 because I applied to fee assistance and they covered the cost of my MCAT or the majority of the cost, and then also up to 23 schools that reduce or just eliminate the secondary fee. So I see you guys are doing the link. You guys have any more questions? So I did put my email in the chat. You can use that email or you can use this email. You can feel free to reach out about any questions about medical school, graduate school, and then go from there. I'm happy to like give you my resources that I still have in Tennessee, or like I know some doctors that are open to shadowing. I can see if they were still open to taking pre-med to shadow, because all the doctors working at the medical center are working at an educational medical center that they're more than willing to have people shadow them. I also know a lot about a lot of different programs for undergraduate research during the summer, for REUs, for different programs that you can apply to for shadowing. Yeah, so a lot of stuff is out there in Tennessee and Knoxville near Maryville. But a lot of people don't apply to them because they don't know about them. But I collected all these different resources that I'm not using anymore. So you guys have any questions or want to reach out to inquire about them, just let me know.
Yeah, and if you lose track of his email, feel free to bother me for that as well. While everybody's still here, let's go ahead and give a silent clap, nice wave. Thank Daniel for his time today. Kind of hard to do that on Zoom, but we really do appreciate all the time you've given to us this afternoon, and hopefully everybody got what they needed out of it.
Yeah, definitely. Again, like you guys have any questions, let me know. I've talked to the admissions director, so I know what they're expecting in general admissions. So, and I also have a lot of resources that you guys can use. So just shoot me an email if you have any questions or want any help.
All right, thank you everyone, and have a great day.
Bye, guys.